Hi guys. So I quickly wanted to take you through some of the important things today on how to get admission into German universities, what are the kind of percentages and stuff like that. There are a few things which are important and we'll quickly go through them, and I'll also you can ask me for this document, then I'll email it to you. So let's just go quickly from top to down. So what are the requirements for studying in Germany for master's degree? I think the first thing is the most important thing is that a lot of students think that the grades are important. Grades are okay; they are important to a certain degree, but they are not the only thing. What really is important is what's mentioned in point number one, which is matching the degree between domestic undergraduate courses and the German undergraduate courses, meaning that if you have done civil engineering bachelor in India and then you are planning to do a master's in civil engineering in Germany, then your bachelor degree in both countries should have an overlap of programs, right? And the it doesn't really need to be 100% overlap, as the point number two says that it has to have, let's say, 90% overlap. In case there is 90% overlap is not there, or the matching degree is not having similar courses like your then what do you do? Then you have to look at some of the other conditions. So what are those other conditions? These are, I think, two um, which really help is if you have studied in a top school. For example, in India, if you have studied in IIT or in NIT, that helps a lot. And then if you have scored more than 80 percentage marks or 8 CGP or whatever that number is, then these two things will also help you to compensate if your degree is not matching. If you have a low score, let's say if you have only a 7, between 6 and 7 CGPA, then you have to really look for the course matching. And course matching always takes precedence. It's more important than your high grades. So that is, those are just those 3 points which are important. Then the next one is language is very important. Whether you do it now or you have to do it later, you have to clear a language course. And the second thing which I'm mentioning here is that recommendation letter from a university professor. So this is where a lot of students miss out because they think that only local university professors matter, but that's not the case. You can also directly approach the professors in Germany and do online projects. You can at least ask for them, like, okay, if I'm interested in doing research on optical you know whatever optical something, then can you give me a project and I'll be able to contribute to that project. Even online is fine. I have known cases where people have done online projects with professors in Germany, and if you do good work, then you will obviously get a recommendation letter. If that is not possible, then go for a recommendation letter from a local university professor, and then try to see if your work is very much linked to the masters which you are aspiring for. There are two different kinds of test staff and DSH. There are a lot of confusion around it, which one we should take and where we can take and all that. I'll not get into too much of detail of this. This is all in a tabular form in this document. I can share it with you. You can post your email, you can WhatsApp me, and then I'll send you this document. You will get to know what these two exams are, and how you can clear them and where you can clear them. These are basically just standardized language tests. But there are peculiarities like whether you can give the exam in India or you have to give the exam in Germany, how frequently these exams happen, and what kind of fees you have to pay. One exam is only 90 euros, another one is 40 to 140 euros. What kind of different gradings and results are there, and so on. So that is another thing. For example, one exam has listening, reading, writing, speaking. Other one only has written and oral. And written exam has, let's say, 75% weightage. Um, and I think grammar is also important one, because a lot of students, including me, German grammar is not the easiest one. So in the first exam, the German grammar is not a crucial part. Whereas in the second exam, which is DSH, the language grammar is also important. So this is something which you can definitely look into. What is test staff? Um, what is DSH and so on. There are some German taught master's program that do not need undergraduate courses um, exactly with the course matching. So these are not, I mean, this is a way to just get to Germany. So, for example, if you want to do masters in cross-cultural communication or religious studies, these are very generic and low in demand programs compared to, let's say, masters in computer science. So there are high in demand and low in demand programs. If you go for low in demand programs, then the strict requirement about your course matching or about your grades is not that significant, right? So this is a little bit about the language requirements and the requirements around this test staff and Deutsch DSH. Then it comes to requirements for studying. It's an interesting one, that bachelor degree through adult education, so IGNU, distance learning, all these kinds of things. A lot of people ask me, I have not done proper bachelor's degree in India, like going to a university. I have only done something from IGNU. Then what should I do? You can actually apply and you can request a review, and they will give you an individual review. So this is something which you should do, because there is no fees for this, and a lot of students do not know about it. How to frame the email, etc., is something you should go through an expert. You should not just directly email the university, because you can get a bad impression. They can get a bad impression of you, and then obviously your chances can reduce. But if you've done, let's say, adult education, let's say, for example, you've done something like IGNU bachelor's or IGNU masters, which is not a full time study, even then you can actually apply. But you have to request for an audit and individual review, and you should not ideally do it yourself. You should ask somebody else to do it for you. And and so yeah. And you can find actually, there is a detailed list on that website, daad.de, of which universities are in India or Pakistan are recognized by German universities. So it becomes very easy. There are some top universities, for example, IITs, which are very well regarded. So if you are from IIT, then obviously your education is considered, and your admissions are much easier. Yeah. So just a quick review. The first thing we said, if your matching degree is not more than 90%, then look at some other things, what kind of university you've gone to, and whether your score overall is 80%. That's number one. Then we briefly talked about this language exam thing. There's one thing which I also talked about, which is the recommendation letter by local professor or a professor in Germany. And then we really talked about this final thing, which is um, distance learning education or adult education kind of bachelor degrees. Can you go and apply and get admission in Germany with these kinds of things? And the answer is yes. And a lot of people will tell you that you cannot get admission with a bachelor's from IGNU. You can, and you can request actually an individual review, and you can also request for some kind of guidance from these universities. However, I would not suggest you to start writing emails directly to all these universities, because they'll get so many emails. There is a certain way to do it, and you should definitely do it under some expert guidance. But you can request for an audit from these universities. So let's say you're applying for 5 universities, then you can request for individual review, and the audit department actually will look into it, whether and how you can get to your masters in Germany. So these are, guys, few things which I wanted to share with you. I think I hope this was useful for you. And I mean, there are a lot of things which keep coming up. A lot of students keep asking me questions, so feel free to ask, and then we can try and resolve in one of these sessions. All the best. Bye.